And we're going back here to this region in Israel. Controversy over a new force-feeding law continues. Doctors have refused to force-feed Palestinian prisoner Mohammed Allaan, who's now been moved to an Ashkelon hospital. Allaan, allegedly part of the Islamic Jihad, has been on strike for over 50 days. I-24 News correspondent Mohammad Alkassim spoke to his parents.
Palestinian prisoner Mohammed Allaan was transferred early today from Soroka Hospital in Beersheba to Barzilai Hospital in Ashkelon, in a move seen by his family as one step closer to force-feeding him. Allaan has been on hunger strike for over 54 days. He has refused medicine or vitamins, accepting only water. His father, Nasser Allaan, said Israel arrested his son last year and placed him under administrative detention for 2 6-month periods. Israel claims that Allaan is a member of Islamic Jihad. For Palestinian prisoners arrested under administrative detention law, a hunger strike is the only non-violent path they can take to protest their treatment and denial of due process. But by force-feeding hunger-striking Palestinian prisoners, the Israeli government hopes it will stop other prisoners from following suit. Israel is facing mounting international pressure for its practice of administrative detention. A prisoner's death by hunger strike stands to make that pressure far worse. Israel's Medical Association, which considers force-feeding a form of torture and medically risky, has urged doctors not to abide by the law. And indeed, Dr. Levy, head of the Barzilai Medical Center, said his staff are not considering force-feeding Allaan.
Respect all the laws and all the things that allows the patient to decide about himself. We act according to the patient rights and the law that keeps the autonomy of the patient to his body.
Allaan's mother could only hope that doctors in Barzilai Hospital take her son's wishes into consideration.
Whatever God wants to happen will happen. I hope they won't force-feed him.
Some Arab members of the Israeli parliament turned up at the hospital to voice their support for Allaan's decision and warned the Israeli government not to force-feed him.
We've been in touch with the Israeli Doctors Association, with Dr. Edelman, the head of the association, as well as the director of the Barzilai Hospital. We, the Arab members of the Knesset, warned of force-feeding him.
Allaan is one of 414 Palestinians in administrative detention. His hunger strike is the longest among more than 180 Palestinian prisoners in administrative detention who are choosing to do the same. Whatever comes out of his case could have major implications for them as well.
And with me to understand a little bit more about the recent situation is correspondent and analyst Mohammad Alkassim. Good evening. Thank you very much for being here in the studio. Where does the situation stand now? He's refusing to eat. He's in the hospital, and the doctors are refusing to force-feed him. Where does it stand now?
So far, the hospital and the doctors will not force-feeding him. The doctor, the director at the Barzilai Hospital in Ashkelon, said that unless prisoner Mohammed Allaan goes into coma or loses conscious, that's when they will consider not force-feeding him, they will consider reviving his life and saving his life. But until this moment, no decision has been made to force-feeding him. In fact, they asked him this morning when he arrived from Soroka Hospital from Beersheba, would you like us to take a do blood test on you? And he refused. The only thing he requested is to check his ear, and that they did.
So what, he wants to die? This is what the parents are saying? He wants to, like, either he is going out of the prison or he's dying?
Well, here's the situation, Lucy. He was arrested last year under administrative detention law, and he spent 2 6-month periods so far without being
seeing a judge.
So for him and other Palestinian prisoners who choose to take a hunger strike path, this is the only way for them to either leave prison or die.
You know, I'm trying to understand what will be the consequences of this specific situation if he will die, if he will, because the international community is already outraged about this situation.
That's true.
Including the administrative detention.
Well, implications goes beyond Israel. It will affect also the West Bank and Palestinians in the West Bank. On the first hand, Israel is facing international pressure from the United Nations, from Europe, from the US and other places over not only administrative detention law, that it should be reviewed and maybe just omitted and abolished, but also over Palestinian prisoners who go on a hunger strike and they may die. On the other hand, just in case any of these prisoners loses their lives, implications in the West Bank are unknown. It could be the start, the spark that starts a third intifada.
Let's try to think together how this situation, him dying, or all these hunger strikes are actually helping the Palestinian Authority in its fight right now.
To be quite honest with you, I think it's on the contrary. I spoke on this case for a while, and I spoke to Palestinians on this matter, and they all say that it's shameful on the Palestinian Authority that it's not really taking a front stand on cases like Mohammed Allaan or Khadr Adnan, which we covered firsthand. Today, I spoke with a couple of Palestinians at the hospital who said Arab members of the Israeli Knesset have done far more than the Palestinian Authority in Ramallah for these prisoners.
So where does it put right now? It takes us back to the maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks discussion that we had together. Is that this puts again the Palestinian Authority in a really low position in front of Fatah, in front of Hamas, which means that for the Palestinians, they understand that maybe Israel understands only force.
Keep in mind that it's claimed that Israel claims that this prisoner, Mohammed Allaan, belongs to the Al-Jihad al-Islami. And we've seen when Khadr Adnan came out of prison a month or so ago, the PA did not attend his release on a high level at all. In fact, they didn't even wait for him as early as he was released. And he is considered also a Jihad Islami member. Basically, here's what the PA is saying. If you are not a Fatah member or a Palestinian Authority loyalist, we're not really going to intervene. And that really puts it in a very embarrassing way in front of the Palestinian public.
And even that, with this, let's say, stand, Israel doesn't see this as a good move towards it. But again,
indeed,
the Palestinian Authority is the one to blame. Well, Mohammad Alkassim, thank you very much.
My pleasure.